today's video, we are going to be working on pruning espalier apple trees today. If you have ever wondered if you could have apple trees, even if you live in the city in a small location, you absolutely can do that. And so I want to show you how I've sort of trained up the apple trees that I have. I think they're about 7 or 8 years old now. And so we're going to take a look at that today, and then also just kind of talk through how you might be able to try some of that. We're going to take a look at kind of what I have set up here, and then I'm going to show you a couple of tools that I'm going to use for today's project, and we'll dive right in. Okay, we are going to take stock of what we have going on here. So this first tree is a Jonagold, and it was a semi-dwarf that I pruned into the espalier shape, and you can tell we've got significant growth going on here. It will need to be pruned way back. And then over here is a goji berry, and this again is out of control. I purchased it because I really like using the dried goji berries. They have a lot of health benefits and they're really expensive. However, it is better suited for warmer climates, and even though the place said that it would be fine through zone 8, it's not, because it doesn't put out blossoms until late summer, and then the berries finally form in October when I have no sun going on over here, and it makes it really hard for anything to ripen. I think I've gotten maybe 2 berries off in this thing, and I've had it for like 5 years. Plus, check out, I don't know if you can see, let me try and zoom in here a little bit. Look at these stickers. These stickers right here are insane. And then when it gets in the walkway, it just grabs your clothing and ruins it. So that's kind of a disaster. I'm gonna pull that out this year. This one is another semi-dwarf that I have trained into the espalier shape. And this little guy is a Fuji, and it has been extremely productive for me over the past few years. So I really have enjoyed this one. But again, there's just a ton of growth. I didn't do much summer pruning last year, and you can tell we definitely have some work to do today. And then my last little tree, this is my last little guy, and this one is a reclaimed espalier. It was not doing well. It was in a pot. They were already getting it established, and it just had not done really well. And so I was able to kind of reclaim it and work on training it to my area. Now, you'll notice that I have 4 wires going up. Hopefully you can see that. So I've got 4 wires going up, and this espalier only has 6 different varieties on it. So all of the varieties are down pretty low, and I've had to kind of make them fit my wire shape. And then up at the top, we have tried our hand at grafting on some new varieties, because I really wanted to put like a Honeycrisp out up here on the top row, but it hasn't been successful so far. So obviously grafting is still something that I really need to work on. So that kind of gives you a rundown of where we're starting. Alright, so now you have a better sense of kind of what we have going on around here, and I want to show you a couple of the tools that I'm going to be using today. So the first one is a pair of pruners. These are bypass pruners, which just means, if you can see here, so the blade is going to is not going to hit something else. It's going to bypass that bottom part and go by on the side. These are going to help to make sure that the branches are not getting crushed, and so it should keep things working really well. And then some of these bigger things that I'm going to need to prune, some of the bigger branches that I'm going to need to prune, the pruners just are not quite big enough, and my hand strength is not quite enough to make that happen. And so I'm going to be using this White Noble saw, and it is a multi-use saw. What I like about it is that it's very compact and it folds up really nicely. So I'll open it up so you can see. The hand grip is just, it fits your hand really, really nice. And you can kind of see how nice and sharp those teeth are. So you do want to be really, really careful with this. And then of course you can just carefully fold that back up when it's not in use. So I like the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it's also really versatile and can help me to tackle some of these bigger ones. I thought we would start with the larger tree that's kind of the most out of control, and the one that I really have had to do the most shaping on. As I stated, the Jonagold and the Fuji are semi-dwarf trees, so they weren't already working towards being on that espalier plane, and it was kind of good and bad. The good part was that I could put in my fence or my wire line, and I had that in before I started shaping the tree. So I already knew where I wanted my branches to go, and I was able to really shape the tree to fit my space. Whereas if you recall, when we took a look at the one that was already an espalier, it was already spaced out and was not quite fit to my fence, and I've just kind of had to bring it along and work on trying to get it to fit the fence. So while it is more work to try and take a regular tree that hasn't already been started to train, or that hasn't already been trained, and to train it on the wire, it actually can be a little bit nicer because you can fit it to your space and really work on what you have. So the first thing that I like to do before I really even dig into the meat is I like to get it back to its confined space. So since I'm working on the espalier section, you can kind of see here, I'll try to show you. So I have 1 6-foot area designated for each tree. So it can go from here at this post over to the other post over there. So I don't want it to go outside of that boundary. That's where I want to leave it. And then because my top row of branches is at this level, I like to keep it cut off a bit shorter up at the top. So one of the things that's been happening as it has become more established, this top part has been much harder for me to keep control of, and that's because the thickness of the branches has just been, it gets larger every year. One of the problems that I've been finding is that I couldn't get a good clean cut on my branches, and I wasn't getting it close enough because it was just so thick. So that's why this year I have gone ahead and purchased the saw, and I'm going to be using that to try and help maintain some of this, because you can just see this is not, it's just not healthy, and it's not looking the way that I want it to. So I'm going to try and actually bring this down a little bit further and see if that might help in the containment process. So here is cut. I have a couple that didn't really turn out quite like they should have, but we'll work with it. Okay, and then down a little bit further, we have this guy. So I'm going to look for the bud. And trim that direction. And then here you can see where I trimmed last year, and I'm going to leave it kind of at that space. So now that we kind of have the sides shaped up just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and work on that top and see if we can get that under control. I just cut off the top, and I really did record it. Well, I tried to record it. But clearly it didn't work. So, I just used the saw, and let's see here. This is how nice and smooth that worked. Look at this. That is amazing. So what I was trying to say is that I wanted to use the saw so that it would give a nice smooth cut here. We wanted to do it at a slight angle so that the water's not going to sit here and it's going to heal really well. And I'll show you some problems I had before. This is what the top looked like that I just cut out, and there's definitely some stuff here that is not healthy. I think a lot of it is from poor pruning that has happened. You can tell, like, these wounds did not heal properly and they look really nasty. So a good reason to invest in a saw. Well worth it. We are on this time. So you didn't get to see me use the saw last time because, I don't know, the camera didn't record, or maybe operator error. I didn't push record. I am going to use it on some of these limbs. So again, you can tell this tree is pretty well established, and I have run into some problems with it just being too thick to be handled by the pruners. And all of this extra growth is not going to do anything for me. I need it all to come down. So I think the last couple of years I have tried to cut right in here, and I just don't know that it has healed properly. And you can see here I have limbs trying to overlap, and if I want my fruit to ripen properly and I want things to work properly, I cannot have all these overlapping branches. So we are going to decide here what's going to stay and what is going to go so that we can open up this mess, because nothing good is going to come out of that. I think we're going to go ahead and take this one out and this one because they are definitely out of control, and it just keeps wanting to send out that top shoot, and it's not really helping us at all. So okay, so now that we have this part taken care of, the next thing we're looking for is anything that's going straight up. If it is growing straight up, it's not going to produce anything. Like these branches here that are going straight up, they're not going to do anything. So we want to take those out. Also, if it's growing back towards the fence and it's hitting the fence like these are, that's not going to do anything for us either, because I really want it to be contained and stay nicely in this area. So those aren't helping. These guys are coming straight out, so I really have to be careful to watch and shape those up really nicely. You can see the different buds, or not buds, but like little nodes. So I want to trim just slightly above one of them. And again, working at an angle. So you'll see here, it's at an angle with the longer end being on the side with the node. This one always is a prolific grower, so I probably should be taking more, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll be okay. This is how we're looking with the first half of the top row, and we're gonna just work our way down and then I'll do the other side. This has become kind of a jumbled mess. So see how these are trying to overlap each other and these are headed towards each other, and this one's just coming straight out here. So I need to open this up just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and trim there. I had left this on here for a reason, but this has taken a bend in the wrong direction and I don't want it running into that over there. This is definitely opening it up a lot more. Okay, so here's the Fuji, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. You can see I definitely trimmed a ton off of this tree, and it will need some summer pruning. What I found with this one is it's so robust that if I don't prune again in the summer, it will get out of control. And I don't know, I probably was a little bit heavy on it this year. However, it bore really heavy last year, so I'm not expecting as much fruit off in it this year anyway. So there we go, one down and two more to go. And here we have the final product. I still haven't finished that goji berry, but we'll see what I decide to do with that. Alright, I hope that you found today's video helpful and inspirational, and that you realize even if you have a small area, you can really do a lot in that area and can make it very productive for your urban homestead and for developing your homesteading skills. So until next time, bye everyone.